The sky was turning orange as the sun began to slip behind the hills. The road was long and quiet, with dust trailing behind the rumble of motorcycles. A group of bikers had stopped near an old diner on the side of the highway. They were laughing lightly after the long ride, their engines cooling in the warm evening air. Ethan, the leader of the group, was leaning against his bike when he noticed something strange on the edge of the trees. A small figure rushed out, stumbling across the dirt with uneven steps. It was a little girl, no more than 9 years old. Her face was pale, her hair tangled, and her clothes were worn as if she had walked for hours. In her arms, she clutched a faded backpack tight against her chest. Her wide eyes darted nervously toward the road behind her. She looked fragile, but her fear gave her courage. When she reached the group, she raised her small hands as though asking for protection. Her voice shook, but was clear enough for them all to hear. She said, "Please, hide me from my dad." The bikers stood silent for a few heartbeats, unsure of what to say. Tough men, used to noise and fights, now found themselves staring at a desperate child. Ethan's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in concern. Behind all the girl's fear, there was something hauntingly familiar in the way she looked at him. The others shifted uneasily. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. Caleb moved a step closer, his arms crossed. Ethan finally bent down to meet the girl at her level. The rumble of a truck grew distant on the road, and the girl gripped her bag tighter. Whatever she was running from, it was serious. Inside the small diner, the air was thick with the smell of old coffee and fried food. The bikers had taken the little girl to a booth in the corner where the light was dim and the windows faced the highway. She sat with her backpack pressed to her chest, her thin arms wrapped around it as if it was her only safety in the world. Ethan slid into the seat across from her, studying her with steady eyes. He had seen fear in men before, but seeing it in a child touched something deep inside him. The girl finally spoke in a soft voice. Her name was Lily. She said she could not go home because her father did not want her to remember her mother. The more she talked, the tighter she gripped that bag. Ethan reached out and asked gently if he could see what she was carrying. For a long time, she shook her head, almost in tears. At last, she pushed the bag across the table with trembling hands. Ethan opened the zipper, and the bikers leaned closer. Inside were folded papers, drawings done in crayon, and a photograph. The papers were hospital records and letters that looked worn from being read over and over. The photograph showed a young woman holding a baby with a smile full of life. Lily whispered that it was her mother, a woman she had never known but thought about every night. There was one more thing resting at the bottom of the bag. A small locket with an old name etched on it. Ethan froze when he saw it. The name scratched into the silver was Clara, the name of his own sister who had vanished years ago. For the first time in years, Ethan felt his heart stumble. Ethan sat frozen in the booth, his hand still resting on the locket. The noise of the diner around them seemed to fade as he stared at the name carved into the silver, Clara. It had been so many years since he had spoken that name out loud. His sister had disappeared when she was young, and the family never learned where she had gone. Now her name was here, carried in the backpack of a scared little girl. Lily watched him carefully, eyes searching his face as if she could sense that he knew something. She asked in a quiet voice if he had known her mother. Ethan looked at her and saw the same gray eyes his sister once had. It was not just a picture or a story from the past. This child was part of his own blood. The bikers at the table shifted, feeling the weight of the moment. Jake leaned back, unsettled. Caleb muttered under his breath that maybe this girl finding them was not an accident. Ethan had always believed life was just a line of choices and chance. But now it felt like something stronger had drawn her to him. He reached across the table and took Lily's small hand. He told her that Clara had been his sister. Lily's eyes widened and filled with tears. For the first time since she had stepped out of the trees, she allowed herself to breathe a little easier. The soul string that tied the past to the present pulled tight around them. Ethan knew that everything was about to change. Protecting Lily was no longer a question of kind strangers helping a child. This was his family, his chance to make right what had been broken for years. The sound of a truck engine grew louder as it pulled into the diner parking lot. Lily's face turned pale and her body stiffened. She held onto Ethan's arm with desperate fingers. He understood at once that her father was near. The bikers looked at each other and all became silent, their eyes fixed on the door. Ethan stood up slowly, his tall frame blocking the view of Lily. The door swung open and a man stepped inside. His boots were heavy on the floor, his shirt wrinkled, his face worn by life. His eyes searched the room until they landed on the booth. Anger and fear flashed in them together. This was Lily's father, a man carrying more sorrow than strength. He moved quickly toward them, voice sharp and unsteady as he demanded his daughter back. Ethan stood in his way. His voice was calm but strong as he told the man that Lily was afraid, and that fear was not something a child should live with. The father glared, fists clenching, but Ethan did not step aside. He spoke again, saying the girl was not running from love, but from pain. The words seemed to strike deeper than a punch. For a long moment, the father said nothing. His shoulders dropped a little, the fight in him fading into something weaker. He looked at Lily, who stayed close behind Ethan, clutching her locket. The truth of her fear was clear in her eyes. The man's face twisted with grief, as if he knew he had already lost her trust. Ethan placed a steady hand on Lily's shoulder and guided her past him. The other bikers rose with quiet strength, forming a wall of protection. Outside, the night air felt lighter. Lily no longer clutched only her bag, but held tightly to Ethan himself. Weeks passed, and the roar of bikes on the highway no longer frightened Lily. To her, the sound had become a kind of music, a rhythm of safety and strength that surrounded her. The bikers who once lived for the road now found themselves slowing down, staying closer, making sure their group was always a circle Lily could stand in without fear. Ethan had taken her into his small home on the edge of town, a place that had once been tired and quiet, but was now filled with small bursts of color from Lily's drawings hanging on the walls at night. Ethan would sit with an old guitar he had fixed up. The notes were rough at first, but Lily listened with shining eyes as if each sound meant more than simple music. Sometimes she would hum along softly, holding the silver locket in her hand. It was her way of keeping her mother close. Ethan felt his sister's memory alive again through those simple sounds. The bikers became more than guardians. Jake taught Lily how to ride a small bicycle he found at a yard sale, pushing her along the path near Ethan's yard until she pedaled on her own. Caleb, quiet but kind, carved a wooden bird for her and placed it by her window so she would always feel watched over. Each man who had once lived by his own rules now found a reason to protect something greater than himself, Ethan often thought. About the day Lily had stepped out of the trees, clutching that bag as if it were her whole world. What had been a moment of chance had revealed itself as something far greater. It was not accident. It was a soul string tying his life back to his sister through the child she had left. Lily no longer looked lost. She laughed more, she trusted more, and she no longer carried her bag everywhere she went. She carried love instead. Ethan felt the change too. The road ahead was uncertain, but they would walk it together, bound not by fear, but by the unbreakable string of family and love that had finally found its way home. If someone is planning to propose, the best way is to keep it true to the heart and personal, rather than copying a big show from movies. A proposal should be about connection, not performance. The most powerful approach is to create a quiet moment where the other person feels safe, seen, and valued. Instead of worrying about fancy words, speak in simple and direct language. Share why that person is special, what life has felt like since meeting them, and how you cannot imagine walking forward without them. When the words come from honest feeling, they carry more weight than poetry or perfect planning. Choose a place that matters to both of you. Maybe the spot where you first met, took a meaningful walk, or laughed together for hours. This brings memory into the moment and makes it unforgettable. A small thoughtful detail like a note, flower, song, or memory woven in shows effort but keeps the focus on love. A genuine proposal works best because love is not judged by size or style, but by the truth spoken in that breath.